1974 was a very, very good year. What happened in 1974? I got my first girlfriend. But the main thing that happened was the War Games Club. Wargaming was fantastic. Somebody asked me recently about what was our equivalent of Games Workshop. And short answer is there wasn't one. You had to buy your figures from random shops. If you were lucky, your town had a decent shop. You tended to base your gaming style on what was available. There's no point doing English Civil War if the nearest shop only sold Norsemen. Rules. There was a War Games research group, they were very formal, and then there was Donald Featherstone who wrote books with all sorts of ideas, skirmishing, but none of it was, we all realised it was his own ideas based on the game. It wasn't tablets of stone. You wanted balsa wood, or maybe you went to the craft shop. Scenery all came from model railway shops. That was the world, really. Wasn't anything like today. You could order things on by post, but you had to do that by getting a magazine with the right article in, or sending for the catalogue, which you had to pay for. You'd probably rather have figures. And then you had to get a cheque or a postal order, get it off your dad, and then you'd have to put a self-addressed postage and packing envelope thing in to pay for it to come back. At minimum, it took a fortnight. But actually, that added to the excitement. I don't know, poke here for it to come tomorrow. We didn't get that. Clubs themselves made gaming. The clubs were where we learned our gaming. I arrived at 15, 14 years old. Didn't know anything. Never played a war game. That's where I saw my first war games. And there were men in the club, going from kids from my age, right up to people in the 70s and 80s. Gaming had only really arrived in the 60s. Proper wargaming that we'd understand it today. So nobody was so super experienced. I mean, the lead figures, like miniature figurines, were only 6 years in production when we arrived. A chap in America, Jack Scrooby, had made lead figures before that, but he only really sold them from his own shop in America, so we didn't get them. The first ones were sort of 1966, miniature figurines, then Asgard Grenadier, eventually Citadel. But at the time of this, for 74, really, miniature figurines and Hinchcliffe. We played a formal war game every Friday night at originally it was YMCA, but it moved to Elmfield House Youth Club. We had a bit like Georgian House, Elmfield House, Elmfield Park, and we war gamed in there. And it had a coffee bar, and there were girls learning to be go-go dancers, all sorts of things going on. And we had a room, and we had table tennis tables or smaller tables, and people set their own games up, and we played games. We also had, though, which I liked and I would like to do again. We should have competitions through the year. So, for example, we had straightforward war games contest. And we'd write down the names of all the different styles of figures we'd got. We all got jumbled up. And then they'd go around and say, do you want to be involved? And they'd charge something like sixpence to play. That was to cover the trophy costs and things. And then we played it a bit like the sort of a football competition. So first round one, first name out of a hat. You. Second name out of a hat, you're playing him. First name out of the hat gets to draw it's English Civil War. And then we should say, before the end of the month, you must have played that game, and you give a result in to the umpire who was organising the game. If people didn't play the game, they were just both knocked out, because we needed to move along. And by the end of the year, we had an overall winner, and they got a trophy for that at Christmas, when we had the big Christmas do. We had painting competitions, we had diorama competitions, It weren't super sniffy, but to be honest, if you entered, you got something. It was some sort of sticker for managing not to glue your aeroplane to your nose. So it wasn't elitist. Everyone could play, everyone could join in. And the older men showed you how to do stuff. They showed you how to paint eyes and the idea of shading. It was quite hard with the Umbral enamel paint, I'll tell you. Which glues to use for different things. How they made scenery. What scenery was available. And if they had old things they didn't want, or spares, they'd give them to you. They'd turn up and say, oh, do you want some walls? Oh, yes, please, I've got no walls, have some walls. It was great. And no one was ever left hanging. No one was ever not invited to a game. Come on, get joined in. It's where we learnt the craft. The older men showed us, Wargaming Research Group, they helped us to understand tables, morale, measuring, ranges. They all helped us to take an interest in uniforms and uniform styles. That was the hub of the game. Nowadays, it's whatever game you play, I think. So if you're a Games Workshop-y Warhammer person, that really drives your love of the hobby. And if you're into Blood and Plunder or Test of Honor or whatever, that probably is what drives you. It's not, I'd be surprised if many of you are going to a club every week with 30, 40, 50 people who are playing war games. Mainly historical games, but fantasy and sci-fi. There was no rules about that. Once a month, we used to get together and we used to have a massive game. We used to put together all these, like, table tennis tables, almost so big you couldn't reach the middle. And then everyone would take all, Napoleonic it used to be, and everybody took their Napoleonic soldiers. And all the French went on one side, and all the British and Allies went on the other side. And we had like a day of like 9 in the morning till 11 at night on a Saturday. And it was gorgeous, and we'd set it up the Friday night before. And tell you what, they were great games. And when you started, you got a bit to do. You might, excuse me, you might have a few cavalrymen scouting, or you might be an artillery commander with a gun or a battery, and then you might be a company commander or a brigade commander. And over time, as you got older and you got more figures, you understood the rules more, you got more important things to do. In effect, got promoted. And people played campaigns, they had worlds that evolved and grew. Honestly, it was brilliant. So, yeah, we didn't have Games Workshop, we didn't have the internet. I think we had something better. I think we had comrades, and we had mentors, and we had people to look up to within the game who were real. They weren't on a screen waiting for someone to press a button. Search for them. They were there every variety. And if you struggled, they'd help you. That was fantastic. A real experience. And I think I'm the richer as a gamer for it. Don't know what you think. Anyway, give us a comment, let me know. Comment quick while I'm still alive.